What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Steve Fast and this is the Hammerdown Motorsports shop. And behind me, well, we have our 1972 Dodge Dart Swinger. Now this engine has a big cam, heads, all that good stuff, and it definitely is taking some toll on the motor mounts. These are just kind of cheap rubber mounts that hold the front of this engine together. And yeah, the engine moves around quite a bit, to the point where it actually tries to loosen off the headers after a little while. So it's time to put some new motor mounts in this car, and let's see how easy it is to work on something from 1972. All right, so down in here you can see our motor mount is located right here, and it looks like we have a stud on the top, a stud on the bottom. And I've never had to do one on one of these engines before, but what I'm going to try to do is get the nuts off that kind of hold it from one side to the other, and I might have to undo the other side as well, and then just lift the front of the engine up with a jack and a piece of wood, and hopefully we get enough clearance to get these out. This is what our new mount looks like, so you can see we do have a fair amount to move this engine to be able to clear these studs, but I guess we're going to give it a try and see what happens. So first up, I'm going to grab my 3/4 inch socket, extension, and ratchet. I'm just going to get these bottom two nuts off of those studs and kind of see where we go from there. So although it is really nice having a lift to use when doing any type of job, I've found that this job actually is probably a little bit easier. I mean, obviously getting the bottom two nuts off is pretty much the only reason we need a lift. Up top is pretty much where you're going to get the rest of the bolts off the easiest way. I tried to get them off from the bottom, but it's just a little bit too tedious kind of trying to working through the holes of the subframe. So I think I'm just going to get at those from the top, and hopefully we'll have some success and get these motor mounts removed.
They're coming out one way or another.
Alright, so I've got my jack underneath now with a piece of wood on the front of the oil pan, and I lifted it up just as much as I pretty much need it for this point. I just want to get those bolts removed and kind of see how it reacts and how I can move it around. If I'm able to get it out at the height we're at, or if I have to go up a little bit higher. Just don't want to put too much pressure on the front of that oil pan, just in case, you know, we kind of reach a point where that would end up denting it. So I don't want to end up doing that. But let's get these bolts removed and see what we got at that point. And there it is. So now to swap over our engine plate from our old mount, just going to grab a 3/4 inch, break that free. I was expecting that to be a little tighter, but is what it is. There's our old mount. Set that aside. And then grab the new one. And you can see the little bump in the metal lines up with the hole on your engine plate, like so. And I'll tighten it back down, and it's ready to go back in the car. Alright, I got the mount back into the subframe hole. I've got my top bolt just started. What I'm going to do is just kind of move that one back just slightly. I'm going to get the bottom bolt in the front in first, just so I got enough room to get the nut and the washer and everything in there. Got our top one being in the way. Our best not to drop washers or any of our nuts in the process. Get that started. I'll get that lower front one tightened up first, and then we can get our front one tightened up, and our rear one should be all lined up, ready to go. So now we got our bolts nicely tightened up. I'm gonna lower down the engine here. Slow like. And back into position. And although I did get new mounts for both sides, this side was the only one that was really bad. And even after looking at it on the bench, it's just the rubber was kind of stretched a little bit. Starting to get weak. It wasn't broken or anything like that. So wasn't as bad as I thought it might be, but all in all, I think for today, we're just going to do this one side and lift the car back up, put the nuts back on the bottom on both sides, then we're going to fire this thing up and see how much more stable the engine is in the engine bay. Okay. Also, one thing we do need to do on this car is the transmission pan gasket. It is leaking a little bit. Cars that sit for a while usually end up leaking, and since I started driving it a little bit more, now it's leaking even more. So now I gotta try to find a transmission pan gasket for this car. I don't know if I'm gonna get one from Amazon. I don't really wanna go to the parts place with everything that's going on in the world right now, but we'll figure it out, and when we do, we'll get that done as well. All right, so 1972 Dart, cold start, probably about 42 degrees maybe right now. It's been sitting for about 3 weeks. Let's see how this goes. And the battery switches is still off. Take two. Definitely still a little cold. Well, you can see the engine is still moving, but it's definitely not nearly what it was before. I should have done a startup with the old motor mount just to kind of show you, but this entire engine would kind of move around. If you guys watch my Dart video that I made on this car, I do a startup on it to kind of show you guys what the engine looks like just kind of from an idle with that old motor mount, but it's definitely a lot more solid than before. So now we're going to pull this thing outside, just kind of let it warm up a little bit. And I'm going to try to rearrange a few things around the shop because I don't necessarily want to have this car in this bay. I kind of want to be able to have this one open, so if I can bring the truck in and out and all that kind of stuff, it's just a little bit easier. So pull it outside and let this thing breathe a little bit. I gotta say, that car never had started up that easily ever, so I think it's liking its new motor mount. I don't know. All right, so Bay 3 definitely could use a little bit of a cleanup. Let's see if we can do that in 3, 2, 1. Well, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but there is definitely now room for a car. So, I don't know who's playing music, but I thought it was the car. But I was like, how is that even possible? But I guess George is having a good time over there at his house on his Sunday. And somehow a worm made it in here. I don't know if it just crawled in from the door being open, or if it came up to the drain or something, but we're gonna go release him into the wild. He can go be a worm somewhere other than the shop. And I know it's just a little worm, but social distancing, people, you never know. Maybe worms have this stuff too. Go find you some water. Be free! So I hope you guys enjoyed just kind of coming along with me in the shop for the day, doing a little bit of work on the Dart. And you know, it's just kind of fun to be able to kind of include you guys on what's going on over here at the Hammerdown Motorsports shop. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, keep that hammer down.